Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Friday forecast with the LFC Daytrippers. I am Gav, as usual, and with me I have got Oscar from All Leeds TV. He's fucking way better looking than Joe, which is a plus from the fucking get-go. We have Matt from the Tottenham Blog. Matt, you're welcome as always. And we have our very own Chris Brack, who's been doing the rounds, doing podcasts all over the world from a sitting room over the last week or so. This show, of course, is a show where we preview the Premier League. We look at about 6 games in some sort of detail. We get quick predictions off the lads on the other 4. We're also going to get them to pick 3 scorers, anytime scorers over the weekend, and we're going to start a new game with all our guests. So we're going to get them to pick a game that does not involve their side. They're going to have to pick a correct score and the first goal scorer. 5 points for the correct score, 5 points for the first goal scorer. I'm going to keep a log of them till the end of the season. Then we're going to calculate it in some sort of way. Grizz won't be involved, so it'll be fucking kosher. And then at the end of the season, we're going to tell one of the lads that he's just the best boy. We're not giving him a prize or anything like that. You know, they get enough attention as it is. Lads, I'm going to get straight into it. We have got a few things going on tonight. I've been telling you all about our Kian Strong, hashtag Kian Strong, that competition that we were trying to get live. That is now live. It's in the show description if you want to go in there and get tickets for that. £4.95 a ticket, 499 tickets max, and every time you buy a ticket, every single penny of it goes to his fund that he needs to recover from brain cancer at 1 year of age. But let's get into the football. We'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? Matt, I'm going to come to you first because I said to you, we're going to talk about Spurs and stuff, and you went, oh, fuck's sake, do we have to? But I'm not going to start there if that's okay. I'm going to start with your other friends. I'm going to start with your other friends in football, and it's Aston Villa versus Arsenal. Now, Arsenal have been on a little bit of a run. I can't remember their last result. They were on a little bit of a run. They drew at home to Manchester United, of course. They lost at Wolves because all the players left the pitch because the referee told them to. And Villa are being up and down, but still in a good position. This is a key game for both, isn't it? Because, you know, a win for either of them just gets them up that another notch where, you know, and this league is mad, so it can really get you places 3 points. It feels like it means more than 3 points at this stage.
It does, and most games at the moment do seem like that because you're looking at those teams who've been nowhere near the top of the table for so long, and Arsenal, as you mentioned, could well and truly be in a top 4 race if they can string a few results together. Thankfully, they had a little blip in the run they were putting together as well. And you're looking at Aston Villa, who were up there and then had a rough couple of weeks, and they're now falling down. And the craziness of the season is personified by the fact that Villa and Spurs, who were doing so well, are now level on points or close enough to Arsenal. And the whole season is all over the place. And from a Villa point of view, I think they really did miss Ollie Watkins in that long period when he couldn't buy a goal, and he could be a really important player for them in this one. You know, with Arsenal, there are a few suspensions, as David Luiz and Leno, of course, will be out for this one. And I'm really interested to see who Arsenal play in goals, because of course Matt Ryan, who they brought in on loan from Brighton, was overlooked in the week against Wolves. They brought on Runnerson, and then we all saw that performance in the Cup against Manchester City, just is not a goalkeeper. So it'll be interesting to see who they go with in that one. And I think that'll be the big decision in this game for Arteta, because Villa have those players who can score goals. They've, of course, Ollie Watkins now back in form, Jack Grealish, Ross Barkley, Bertrand Traore. They do have such a strong team, and it's going to be a difficult decision for Arteta, because you're looking at Runnerson, who is a young keeper who could potentially have a future at the club, and it just feels like Matt Ryan was brought in to be that choice. If something did happen when Leno or Runnerson, like, you never feel as though he was going to be in that team. So there are big choices there for him. From Dean Smith, I think he knows his best team from back to front. Emi Martinez did have a little bit of a blip in that game against West Ham during the week, and you'd imagine back against his former club, he'd be like fit and firing again, and hope to God he will be. But yeah, as you say, huge 3 points for each team. Both of them linger in mid-table at the moment, and it could thanks, Rob. It could be season defining for both of them if they can get a win and really push themselves into that top race.
Okay, Free World, he is the YouTube Ultra now at this stage, because he says, happy to see Gav, only watch shows with Gav presenting. Hashtag Team Gav. Free World, seriously, mate, just watch all the shows with it, because I guarantee you, the vast majority of people that are on these shows when I'm not there are better than me. So please go and watch the rest of them. The Last Minute Winner podcast says, my mate Matt talking sense as usual. Shame he's a Spurs fan. Yeah, I echo that massively.
I do as well.
Yeah, the way things are currently, you do as well. Yeah, I 100% get that. Oscar, you're extremely welcome to the show, but I want to talk to you about Jack Grealish, because he has to be up there as player of the season, or one of the players of the season so far. And when you look back at Arsenal and Villa, I think it was a 3-0 win for Villa at the Emirates earlier on in the season, and he was huge in that game. He's a special player, isn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got to admit it. He's a top player. I mean, me and Joe, we regularly, to be fair, anyone that tries to promote Jack Grealish, we go, no, he's awful. He's awful. But to be fair, now it's got to a point where, yeah, he is pretty good at the sport, to be fair, isn't he? I can't really deny it anymore. But yeah, look, I think obviously, he's getting to that age now where he's kind of starting to gradually approach kind of his peak. But for me, he's a fantastic footballer. I think it's a really interesting battle, in terms of in the midfield between Grealish and Partey for me. I think obviously in that 3-0 game, I think Partey came off at half time and Villa just ran riot in the second half. I think it was 0-0 at that point when Partey came off in the last game. So yeah, I think obviously Barkley being back in contention for Villa is massive for them. And you just look at that team. I mean, as Matt said, it's a good team. That starting 11, maybe you can question the depth a little bit to the Villa side. But Grealish, though, I mean, you can't give him the ball anywhere, and you just know he'll take the ball 20, 25 yards further up the pitch, and he's just a top talent. And I think the big thing with Grealish is he's adding end products now as well. He's not just great to watch in terms of pure entertainment. He actually does get goals. He makes he's a clutch player. He makes decisive moments in games, and that's all you can kind of ask for. So yeah, he's probably in contention definitely if he carries on this form.
Yeah, Barry Devaney echoes that. He says Grealish is adding assists and goals to his overall game, and fair play to him because he's proved Barry wrong, and that's all that matters in the world right now for Jack Grealish is proving Barry Devaney wrong, and he has done so, which is absolutely amazing. How are you, Barry? How are you, Chris? A few people in there are mentioning like they'd love him at Liverpool and stuff like that, and I think he's a fantastic player. In a scenario where Liverpool tried to sign Jack Grealish, where do you put him?
You'd switch formations around. You'd probably do 4-2-3-1 and play him in the 10 and say, do you think? And then you've got Salah and Mane. But in a way, that could be a Firmino replacement upgrade, depending on your point of view. That's the way I could see him working on the Liverpool side. Look, I'm with Barry. He didn't impress me that much last year. I thought what annoyed me with him was he had a lot of petulance in his game. He reminded me a bit of Zaha. If it doesn't go his way or someone kicks him, that was it. He was done. He'd lose his head too much. Whereas he's now got that in his game. He's took it as, if someone kicks me, that's because I'm good. And I'll just go at you again, and I'll go at you again. And then he's added end product to his game. Whereas last year, he was doing the Zaha thing. When he got kicked, he'd spend all day moaning to the ref and kind of lose his head a bit. So he's probably got that football maturity this year. And took on the mantle of, look, I nearly got relegated last year. I'm not having that again. And he's enjoyed it. He looks like a man who enjoys his football. That's how I'd see him for us. I don't think you could, if we put him in 4-3, I don't think sticking him out wide and just say, stay out wide, I don't think that suits. I mean, Liverpool don't play that. They play quite fluid. But I think, I do think Liverpool will evolve to a bit of a different formation probably next season, depending on who we sign in the summer. Anyway, I think 4-3-3 might be coming out the side a little bit, just to mix it up. So, look, we had a great Jack Grealish on our side, it can't do you any harm.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the table there. Arsenal have played 22 and have 31 points. Villa are on 32 points. They've only played 20. They've 2 games in hand on a lot of teams around them. Just coming back to you, Matt, when you look at this one, how do you see it going? Because Arsenal have been on a decent run. I still think they're not good enough. I still think their manager isn't good enough in at key points in games. I don't think they're good enough, and I think that's down to the players they have, and the manager they have. But what way do you see this going? Because I'm going to be honest, I fancy Villa heavily.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to predict because, as you mentioned at the start, these are two teams who both are unpredictable and their form is up and down so consistently. I think that Arsenal squad, if you're looking back at Arsenal, probably up starting from like the last 3 years of Arsene Wenger, went into the Unai Emery period there as well. You always looked at them where they were in the table and said, well, that squad is better than where they are. You can't say that anymore. I don't think you can actually look at that Arsenal team and say they deserve to be anywhere more than mid-table or deserve to be in with the European shout. So that is, aside from Arteta, I think, who's been thrown into the deep end way too early on in his career, the squad just isn't there in the first place. And he's not going to get the backing from the board. So hopefully things don't work out there for him. But I would agree with you. I think Villa at home, coming off the back of that disappointing defeat against West Ham, you can see 2 to Jesse Lingard of all players. I think Dean Smith will look for a reaction from them, and I think he will get it out of them. And those key players, the Ollie Watkinses, the Jack Grealishes, will be absolutely pivotal to them in this one. And I can't see them coming out of this one with 3 points. Okay,
go on, give us a prediction.
8-0, no, 2-1 Villa, I'd say.
2-1 Villa. Oscar, are you going on Villa here, or do you think Arsenal can turn things around and get a victory?
I think it'll purely be decided on who wins that battle between Grealish and Partey. But I'm going to sit on the fence a bit here. I'm going to go for a high-scoring draw. I think both teams will cancel each other out. Arsenal are playing a bit better football. Since they've got Smith Rowe into the team, they are playing a bit more on the front foot. Lacazette starts to get some goals. Saka, I think, is an absolutely top-class player. I can see goals, but I'm thinking a draw, to be honest, mate.
Okay, you got a high-scoring draw. No problem at all. Chris, Samyak Jane says no Leno, Villa are favourites for him. What way do you stand on this?
If Matt Ryan plays, I think Arsenal can get a draw out of the game. If they put that Runnison in goals, I'm going to be honest, mate, I'd rather have Adrian or Carrius in goal. That is one of the worst keepers I've ever seen. Honestly, God, he couldn't catch a cold. He's horrendous. If he plays, I think Villa win 3-1 quite comfortably. So I'm going to say 3-1 because I've got a feeling that Runnison's going to play it, and I think he's crap. Okay.
I'm going to go with the same score. I don't fancy Arsenal at all this weekend. I think Oscar's right. I think Partey and Grealish against each other, whoever gets the better of that, could go a long way to seeing what way this game goes. Because if Grealish does get beyond him and is looking at the likes of Watkins, Traore, whoever it might be, they have the pace to get at Arsenal. Of course, they have got Luis out. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing at this stage, to be honest. But I'm going to go 3-1 for Villa as well. And we'll all be here on Monday going, yeah, we're all the Egypts. We don't know what we're talking about. But that's the way things go. That's why we're here, to make predictions and make fool of ourselves. Quick ones. Chris, Burnley v Brighton.
2-0 Burnley.
Okay. You're only saying that because Brighton won at Anfield. I know you are. Matt.
I'm very better.
I know you are.
I'd say 1-1.
1-1. Okay. Oscar.
1-0 Burnley.
1-0 Burnley. Okay, no worries. And another quick one, Chris, back to you. Newcastle v Southampton. I think it's a good game, actually.
2-1 Southampton.
Okay. Matt.
Yeah, 2-1 Southampton.
Okay. Oscar.
Yeah, I'm going to go same. 2-1 Southampton.
Okay, they've been beaten 9-0 in the last game, lads.
But it's
Newcastle. Last time they lost 9-0.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think Newcastle might get something out of it. They'll be buoyed by that result at Everton. I think that's helped them in a big way. Kevin Sullivan has 3-0. A lot of people are back in Southampton here. Nageb says 2-0 to Southampton. Macker has 2-1 to Newcastle, and so does Dan J. So it's fairly split in the chat as well. If you're in the chat, please hit the like button. If you've already done, brilliant. If you haven't already and you don't want to miss anything, do it on your way out. Hit the share button, share it to your social media. And if you haven't subscribed, please do hit subscribe. On to our second game that we're want to cover, and it is Spurs v West Brom. And Matt, I'm going to leave you till last. Matt's just turned off his camera. He's gone. I like that. Lads, Chris, I'll come to you first. Spurs get beaten by Liverpool. Is it 3 defeats in the bounce? I think they get beaten they get beaten by Liverpool, and I thought they were dominated by Liverpool. I thought it was a harsh lesson. I think Spurs were taught that night. By Liverpool, and like me and Matt have discussed Liverpool and Spurs loads. I know Matt went into it fairly confident, and so did I, but I just felt in that game that, you know, Liverpool have a makeshift defence with Henderson, and even more so in the second half, but their use of the ball and the way they pulled Spurs around the park. Spurs lost a lot when Kane went on, and Gareth Bale isn't a footballer anymore, in my opinion. The way he came on and strolled around the right wing was hilarious to watch. But they go then, they lose to Brighton, which I expected, because I thought they'd suffer after Kane being injured. And then, you know, they lose that, and then Chelsea and their new manager get a win against them.
What's he called again?
The other fella. I'm not saying his name. But
TT.
But Chris, when you look at this, like, West Brom have shown bits at times, including at Anfield when they get a draw, but they've been hammered at home at City and stuff like that. Is this a good game for Spurs? Because I think it is. I think it's a good game for Spurs, even though they're missing Kane or whatever, because I think West Brom are gone, to be honest.
You think that, but I thought West Brom were gone when they played us. Spurs and Liverpool have got very similar issues at the moment. Low blocks at the moment, we're just having a nightmare against. Absolute nightmare. I think without Harry Kane, they'll sit so deep it'll cut the space off for Son. And for some reason, he doesn't fancy Vinicius. Is it Vinicius? I can't remember. I'm probably bastardising his name there. That's him. Sorry, I probably bastardised his name there. He doesn't fancy him at all. He fancies playing the 300 grand a week traffic cone. He just stands there. You know, Gareth Bale was a great player. He can't run. He clearly doesn't. He's got the Daniel Sturridges about him. I think he's got that thought in his head of if I run, I'm going to rip my hamstring open. I think he's got that fear in him that he doesn't want to run, and he's not doing any clever interlink play to help us. So I think it's a horrible game for Spurs because I just don't think it suits them. They probably actually prefer someone like a Fulham who are a bit more open and actually probably have a go at them because it would give them opportunities to get behind. I still think Spurs will win, but I think it'd be one of those horrible, horrible, tight win by a goal games. It's not going to be a nice watch, but I still think they'll get through it. If they don't, I mean, Mourinho seems in his press conference seems to have jumped into year 3. What's happened? He's already talking about how many titles he's won and how he needs to be respected. Which is generally telltale sign he's fucking off soon. That's generally his mantra. The only problem he's going to have is he'd be lucky if Levy pays him a big buyout to sack him. Levy's not a stupid man.
No, he's not. But you see, the thing is, I think what's going to be difficult for some clubs this year is that, you have got the COVID situation, you've no fans in ground, you've got games every 2 and 3 days, and there's a multiple of factors. Me as a Liverpool fan, I see it, and then when you throw in the players that we're missing on top of it, I've said it's catching up with us, the way, and you just have to hold your hands up and go, listen, we can only do our best here, but I think the problem some clubs are going to have is if they had top 4 hopes and they come 5th or 6th, it's hard to explain, because even though it's a mad year, you're still expected to be right up there. This is a chance for teams that would hover around 5th, 6th, 7th and absolutely have a right go of 4th or 3rd or whatever. But if you're seeing like Spurs to be top 4, nailed on top 4, and they drop out, that there could be trouble there. I don't agree on the Mourinho thing. I think he might be there for longer than people expect. I really do. He looks fairly committed to Spurs. Oscar, Gareth Bale does intrigue me because a wonderful footballer. He's won so much in his career. People say he prefers playing golf and stuff like that. But is there an argument to stick him up front? Is there an argument to just go, listen, go up front and hang around the box? Because he's a good finisher, he's good in the air, and he just doesn't look interested.
I think so. I think obviously I like the Spanish football, and I've watching Gareth Bale the last 2 years in Madrid. When Spurs made that signing, I just thought straight away, that's heart over head. That makes no sense for Tottenham. They've got all these attacking players and they're spending 300 grand a week, even if they got him for free. It just makes no sense why they're bought him. But if you're going to get the best out of Gareth Bale, I think you just make his game as simple as possible. As you said, Gav, in this centre forwards, doesn't have to run loads because you've got Son, you've got you got that work rate around him, and Ndombele behind him. You've got like those interesting players around him to an extent. There's players that can make something happen, and we can just stick Bale there in the middle of the box, get on the end of things, and try and get goals that way. I think it probably is your best bet, to be honest, if you're Tottenham. If you're going to try and get the best out of Bale. But for me, if I'm being honest, I'd probably just go Vinicius. I don't think I'd even have Bale in the starting 11. I don't even know if I'd use him off the bench. I mean, Mourinho's getting a lot of criticism for it, but I think he's right, to be honest. I think he's right to not trust Bale. I don't think he cares anymore. I honestly don't think he cares anymore. I think he just... I think he's just, I don't know. It's a strange one with Bale. I think you don't look at his body language compared to what it was last time he was at Tottenham. He was the man, wasn't he? He was the man. He was probably the best player in the Premier League at the time. And he's just, he's half the player now. And I think the only way you do get anything out of him is put him up top and try and get, because he is in the air. I mean, you look at West Brom, the height they've got, I would still fancy Bale to beat their centre-backs in the air, to be honest. So, it's definitely a shout from that point of view.
The problem is,
I was just, I just came into my head especially when he came on against Liverpool. I thought there's no movement there, and I don't think. Does he care? I don't know. Well, look, let's ask the Spurs fella. We'll ask him loads of questions and see what he thinks. Matt, hi. And before I go on, this Shankly Red has given us a donation for Kian, which has been noted in the book here beside me. And of course, when we get to the end, I will donate all of that to Kian. So, and of course, in the description, you have got the live draw. But Matt, it's three defeats on the bounce. I think they were outplayed by Liverpool. The Brighton one, a bit of a hangover, I think, from that game with Kane being missing, and then Chelsea. I don't think they look great. Does he have to mix this up a bit? Does he have to? Would you go with a Bale up front? Would you put Vinicius in? More? What would you do to kind of jolt this team a little bit?
I'm honestly at the point. I said it in my watch long after that Chelsea game last night. I said there's a young lad, you probably heard of him, Dane Scarlett, in our youth academy right now. He's 16 years of age and he's banked in 14 goals in 10 games this season, and he's scoring for fun. I give him a chance. Honestly, Vinicius hasn't done enough. I've been an advocate for him to get in the team, and he got his chance yesterday against Chelsea. I don't know if you saw the chance he missed in the 87th minute, a free header from 4 yards out, and he put it wide. His movement wasn't enough. He started to hold up the ball. He couldn't do that. He wasn't strong enough against the opposition players. He couldn't get in behind. His movement's non-existent. Gareth Bale he's a snail, and honestly, like, I love the man to death. He gave me. He made me fall. He's one of the players that made me fall in love with Spurs. But people go on and say, "Oh, he's our only player who scored in all competitions this season." He's 1 goal in the Premier League, 1 goal in the Europa League, 1 goal in the FA Cup, and 1 goal in the Carabao Cup. Like, it's stat padding at that stage when you're just getting the goals in all competitions.
Well, it's not even stat padding. It's just
Yep.
it's convenience rather than anything else.
Yeah. He can't even manage to stat pad. Lucas Moura is still living off the hat-trick in Amsterdam. Honestly, he's done nothing since. He scored a hat-trick against Huddersfield at the end of that season, but he just runs around. Honestly, he's no footballing ability. The one thing that you can praise him on is he'll win an aerial battle against whoever he's up against. If you put him up against an 8-foot centre-back, somehow he'll still manage to win that ball. But in possession, he's not good enough. Is it
the style of play though, Matt? Because I remember talking to you before Spurs came to Anfield, all right, and talking to you before we went to I just still call it White Hart Lane, if that's okay with you. Yeah. But I remember talking to you when you were saying, and we both agreed. I'm not saying that you said this and I thought you were mad. We both agreed that Spurs are buying into the way Mourinho wants to play. They're buying into his system, his ideas, the patterns of play, in particular Kane, we were talking about at the time. Is it a case that, when Kane goes, they don't have anyone to fill in that gap where dropping deep, turning, looking for Son or Ramora or whoever it might be off the flanks to go in behind? And because Spurs aren't moving, because they've lost that player and they're not moving away from that, that's Mourinho's fault, and it's making them suffer even more. Maybe a change-up of stuff, maybe a change-up of formation or the way they want to play might help these players that are available.
Yeah, I fully think so. Like, I know, like, people always say it, and you laugh and say, well, obviously that's the case with everything. But with Jose, when you're playing that type of football and you're winning, it's the best thing in the world. But as soon as things start to go wrong, it's the worst thing in the world. And Dele Alli is a player who should have been in this team a lot further back in the season. But it feels as though Jose was making those team decisions on a personal basis rather than on what Dele could actually offer us. And look, people are saying the last week has proven that Tottenham are a one-man team. We were a pile of crap before Harry Kane was injured. We've lost 5 of our last 9 games. It was Crystal Palace the Sunday before we played Liverpool the first time is when things started to go wrong. Yeah. We lost to Liverpool, then we lost to Leicester. And I think it's really interesting how the situation we're in this week, say before the Chelsea game, is the exact same as where we were in early December. We lost a midweek game against Liverpool that we were going into it thinking we should win. And then we had a ridiculously lackluster performance on that Sunday. Last time it was Leicester, this time it was Brighton. And the first time Jose managed to get a reaction from those players to some degree. We weren't quite getting the results, but we still managed to actually show a bit of passion on the pitch. And like, we're looking at the games we won in January. We beat Stoke, we beat Brentford, we beat Wickham, we beat Marine, we beat Sheffield United. So there was a bit of a buzz thinking, oh yeah, maybe we could do something. But as soon as we had played against a team with any bit of quality, everything came crashing down. And the players had bought into Jose's style of play 100%. Why shouldn't they? He's one of the most successful managers in world football. But if you watch that game against Brighton on Sunday, and if you can point out to me one player that actually looked like he cared, I thank you for it. They don't seem to care anymore. There was sometimes last night where the high press was, like, honestly, like, Son was standing there, the ball was played 2 yards in front of him, and he just watched it go past him. And he's apparently the most passionate player we have on our team. Against Chelsea last night, Moussa Sissoko was probably the worst performance I've ever seen from a player in a Spurs jersey. And he was on the same pitch as Serge Aurier. The thing I said about Aurier last night was when we got forward, he wasn't there. And then we got counter-attacked and he still wasn't there. And you're thinking, where is he? What's he doing? But Sissoko, no effort, no. And it's all the players. Like, even Højbjerg last night couldn't keep the ball. He couldn't win the ball back. He looked like he wasn't trying. And he's at the enforcer in the middle of our park, and we couldn't get anything out of him. Toby Alderweireld was shocking, and I've never thought I'd say it, but Toby Alderweireld made Eric Dyer look bad. And don't even get me started on Eric Dyer's breakdance, which got Chelsea a penalty. It's just everything seems to be going wrong. And when this happens, the players are going to turn against Jose. And on your point about the attack, there have been reports in the last couple of days that the Spurs players are so confused as to what they should do when they're going forward, because the attack is so focused on Harry Kane and his passing ability.
But that's what I'm saying, yeah. Is it a case of and not a one-man team, because that whole one-man team is bollocks, to be honest with you. If it's a one-man team, send the other 10 off, send them to the pub and see how that one-man fella gets on. It's not how it works. But I'm wondering, is it, especially with the way Kane has adapted his game to Mourinho and the way he wants to play, it seemed the importance of what he does has been magnified. If Kane was just up front, running the odd channel, looking to get in behind, play on the shoulder, and he goes out, it's fairly easy to replace that. You get a fellow with pace, you say, look, run off the back of him. But the way Kane was getting he was way more important to Spurs' build-up play, their midfield play. He was literally dropping in as a fifth midfielder to outnumber teams.
Yep.
And now is it a case of just, he's gone and everyone's gone, well, there's no one taking his place, and this is all we know what to do. It's like, no plan B, no plan C. That's the way that's the feeling I get off it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought I was wrong, but you're agreeing with me, so I'm delighted.
No, there's people, like, these reports are saying that the Spurs players don't know what to do because the attacking training they're doing is so minimal, and it's just basically Kane gets the ball and you run. It's the most basic attacking training you can think of. And like, I'm looking at Ndombele, who we paid £65 million for, who is one of the most technically gifted players I've ever seen in a Spurs jersey. Why isn't he able to fill that void? Why can't he get in there? And like, look, fair enough, Kane has been absolutely outstanding for us. 12 goals, 12 assists in the Premier League this season. Crazy, crazy numbers. But at the end of the day, all he's doing is getting back and just pinging the ball over the back line. And Ndombele for 65 million should be able to play a pass over the back line that doesn't reach the goalkeeper. And I know it's really simplifying what Kane does, but it's the truth.
But this is the point I'm making. Like, if I'm Spurs, and I'm not telling Mourinho what to do, who the fuck am I to? But what I'm saying is, if I go in and I say, right, well, we change it up a bit, we might go Højbjerg and AN or whoever it might be, and I'm going to stick Ndombele as a 10, all right? I'm going to stick him as a 10 with two men out wide and, Son up front. And I'm going to try not replicate what Kane does, because he usually plays in that centre forward position, but it's false nine-ish, isn't it? Instead of doing that and saying, I'm just going to put someone right up front and I'm going to play Ndombele off him, and between those two they can try replicate what Kane is doing. But it'll be interesting to see, especially against West Brom, who will come out and just sit there and say, no, we're not doing that, we're not interested. See if you can score. But let's get some predictions. Chris, I'll go to you first.
2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. Oscar.
1-0 Spurs.
1-0 Spurs. And go on, Matt.
1-1.
1-1. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win. I think Spurs will just about edge it. Shankly Red is asking in the chat, can he leave his money for his tickets for the Kian draw in here? No, you can't, mate. You need to go to the link in the description. It brings you to the Football Prizes website. You fill in a little account login that takes a minute or two, and then you can just buy your tickets from there. We can take the money and then go and buy the tickets for you, because they need your email address and stuff for prize winners. Dan J has got 2-0 to Spurs. Freeward has a 1-1 draw. Stephen O'Connor has a 1-1 draw. Kev O'Sullivan goes 2-0 Spurs. So there's not many fancy. Oh no, hold on. Nageb says Tottenham 0, West Brom 1. Do you know what? I can't back the thoughts of Sam Allardyce's team winning any game of football, winning anything. The nicest gravy in Bolton. I just can't back Sam Allardyce to win anything. I really can't. I'm so sorry.
I just wanted to get the first relegation on his CV.
He'll walk before it happens.
He will. We all know he will. And then he'll be praised for it.
Yeah. PAFC says 1-0 to Spurs. Ronan O'Donnell has Avo has 4-0. Ronan O'Donnell is there. He has 2-0. So a lot of people are backing Spurs. Matt, so it's all good. Craig Lowe has a 0-0 draw, so don't watch the game. It's going to be crap.
I have to go up at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning to watch along for that. I'm not looking forward to it.
The next one up is United v Everton, and of course United did beat Southampton 9-0 the other night. Scored some good goals. Fella sent off, rightly so, after 2 minutes. The other sending off was an absolute joke. How you can make that decision, look at VAR and decide that the decision is correct, and then come out the following day and rescind the red card is just VAR, lads. It's absolutely unbelievable. But Oscar, I'm going to come to you first because Everton were disappointing last week when they drew 1-1 at Leicester. They were lucky, even though the fella with little arms and goal, Tielemans, shot in. They were beaten at home 2-0 by Newcastle, but they went and won at Leeds, and it's kind of given them another kick, and with results again going for them in a certain sort of way, just above them. It was a really important win. But when you look at this one, Everton have just beaten you. You don't like United. What way do you see this going?
Depends what VAR decides, to be honest. I think it can be 0-0, but both teams can go off the pitch and decides, oh no, we'll let Man United win. But no, look, I'll be serious. Everton, to be fair, I think defensively, I think we underestimated them, to be honest. I think Mina, Keane and that lot played really well. Holgate was fantastic, to be fair, at right back. Godfrey did well. Digne superb going forward. So you see what that Everton team's got about it, but you can also see why they drop points, because I think in that second half in that game, we had a lot of joy against them, in terms of the midfield didn't really protect the back four very well, to be honest. I think there's a lot of space between the back four and the midfield, and you can probably see like a Bruno Fernandes probably slotting into that space, Rashford, Martial, etc., really exposing that a little bit more than what we were able to, because obviously the quality difference is there. But yeah, I think you look at this game, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if Everton go and win, to be honest. It really wouldn't surprise me. I don't think that's going to happen, but you just never know that with this Everton team. They have got it in them to really produce a masterclass. And I think the big thing was, from when they played us, James Rodriguez didn't even go on the pitch at any point, and they were still able to create chances. So there's a lot about Everton that's quite good, but there's also a lot where you look at them and think they're a little bit weak in terms of mentally for me, in terms of they can, they were 2-0 up in the game, really comfortable against us, and then we scored. And let's be honest, I think Robin Olsen was fantastic for them. If Pickford was in goal, I honestly think we'd have probably won the game, never mind drawn it. I think the amount of efforts we had, he made 2 or 3 seriously world-class saves, to be fair. But yeah, Man United you look at, and I think Shaw, to be fair, has really stood out last couple of weeks, I think at left back. And there's clear quality there. Obviously, Cavani might play. And it's just the rotation they've got. They've got so many different options in that lot. And I still think it's a game that I probably expect Man United to win. But if Everton are on it, then why not? They can still get something.
Yeah, like Chris, in fairness, like we watched United, we are close quarters over the last couple of weeks. I think we felt they weren't brave enough at Anfield when Liverpool were at the height of bad form and whatever else, and players being out. They beat us in the cup, but Liverpool were quite good that day, I thought. And they've had a little bit of a blip since, but the Southampton one will give them loads of confidence. I think they're 2 fairly well matched sides. I think Everton are down probably in 7th or 8th at the moment. United are currently 2nd. But when I look at them, I can see where both teams have chance to score, but I can see where both teams are a little bit naive and vulnerable as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Probably the big plus for Everton is that they haven't got tiny arms in goal. I think him breaking his ribs probably the best thing that happened to them. So at least Olsen is a competent goalkeeper. He's not, I think he's more consistent than the fellow they've got. Defensively, actually, I think Everton are quite good. I think Godfrey's been brilliant for them this year, and getting Luca Dean back, I think, gives them a real buzz. I think Calvert-Lewin's starting to find goals again, which I think is what they need, because he did go through a bit of a barren spell, and you would hope for them James Rodriguez starts against United, because I think he's very good at winning cheap free kicks. That's what you need. You need those sort of players in your side. United, yeah, look, they did. They played 10 men after 2 minutes and they slapped them 9-0. You can only beat what's in front of you. And Southampton were there for the taking, and fair play to them, they took advantage of it. I'm still never convinced by that United defence. I still think there's a risk in it. I still think there are certain players you can target. I think Shaw's been their best defender this year, which, a couple of years ago he was getting lambasted. So I actually think this is going to be a high-scoring draw, because I think both sides can cancel each other out.
Okay. Matt.
Mm-hmm.
We talk an awful lot about United, and going forward on the break, I think they're particularly good. The people that say they get fortunate decisions and stuff like that, and you've seen it the other night, and it has happened. But looking at Everton, like if Everton are going, like you kind of know what you're going to get with United now. On the majority of the time, in the style of play that they're going to bring into a game, regardless of whether it's home and away, in my opinion. But when you look at Everton, what do Everton need to do approaching this? Because do they need to just let United try come on to them and try double bluff them, or do you think they should go for them? Should they low balls in the box, because Calvert-Lewin is extremely good. Richarlison hasn't looked really good, and from what I've heard from Everton fans over the last couple of weeks. What do Everton need here? Because I think it might be a midfield battle. I think that's where it might be won.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough one for Everton, because credit to United, they have looked good both going forward on the counter-attack and sustaining attacks this season. And look, if Everton sit behind the ball, of course, they do have the chance to catch United on the break. I think it'll be interesting to see if Solskjaer goes at Maguire and Lindelof, or Maguire and Bailly. And I think if it is Lindelof, Everton need to target that right-hand side, because Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Victor Lindelof, they hold hands every time that the team has possession. There'll be so much space out that left-hand side. And even though Richarlison hasn't really been at it lately, if he can exploit that space, if he can have Luca Dean down the left-hand side go with him, I think they can really hurt United with crosses from that left-hand side, as you say, going into Calvert-Lewin. And it's interesting from a Solskjaer point of view that everybody knows the weaknesses United have. It's that defensive side and the right hand side, and the balls into the box along the ground. Harry Maguire, it's like he's allergic to them. He'll watch the ball go past him, he won't clear it. So if they can target those sort of things, I do think Everton could have a lot of joy down that left hand side. But if they do sit back, it pains me to say it, but United do have the players that can unlock a low block in seconds. You know, they've Bruno Fernandes, who for me has been the best player in the Premier League in the last year. They've Paul Pogba, who when he does show up, he can bang one in from 30 yards, or he can play that deft pass over the defence to pick out a player. And I think Cavani could be really important for United. If I think he is having a late fitness test or something for this one, if he does pass fit, I think he could be really important, because Rashford and Martial just don't cut it for me. You know, they will, like Martial, he bagged a goal there on Wednesday against Southampton. Rashford, he's hot and cold. You know, he could put one in from 30 yards and he could miss an open goal 2 seconds later. So it depends on which one of them show up. But for Everton, getting targeted on that left hand side, now, as you say, the midfield battle is going to be crucial. Fernandes, Pogba could be so important for United. Will it be McTominay in there as well, or Fred? They're both really good footballers, but I think have weaknesses more so than those other United players do. And James Rodriguez as well could be absolutely crucial, because he is that man who can pick out a pass from anywhere to anybody. And with that weakened United defence, he could be so important for them.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture in my head what way both teams will go, and I think you know, in fairness, like, people do slay Fernandes because he goes down a bit easy. The penalties he gets, like that's he's a stat patter. Like he's the ultimate stat patter. There's no doubt about it. I don't think he shows up enough in big games for me, but I think you're right. He does have a ball in him. Pogba definitely has a ball in him. Rashford can as well. Martial's been off the boil. If I'm Everton and I'm approaching this, I'm saying, right, this is the way to do it. We're going to have to work extremely hard in midfield to push these wide. Okay, because they'll probably go with Everton could do their thing where Digne will be back, but you know, Godfrey has played very well whenever he's played, and he's most of it has been as a fullback. So I think Everton's way out of this will be to be really solid in midfield, because James Rodriguez is going to chase you. He's not going to break. He's not going to run. He's not going to press. He's not going to tackle. He's a pure luxury player. But if Everton can filter United wide and make them hit balls from wide rather than intricate balls around the box, Pogba, Fernandes, Everton can deal with that quite well. And then they need Calvert-Lewin, they need James Rodriguez, they need Richarlison and whoever else plays on the right hand side for them to be really good, really on it, and when they get their chances, absolutely go with United, because there is space against United if you can push them wide, make them cross it, and try win that second ball. United probably will go with McTominay and Fred, and they'll probably pick up Fernandes ahead of that, or they'll come up with some sort of way of doing it. But I think if Everton are to stay in the game, like Kevin Sullivan says, for as long as they can, and can look to break on United with Richarlison, James Rodriguez, and Calvert-Lewin, and I don't know who to play out on the right hand side. I think they have a chance. But look, let's have some predictions. Oscar, I'll come to you first.
I'll go 2-1 Man United.
Okay. Chris?
I'm going to go 2-2. I think the key battle's Decore versus McTominay.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to think that then is Alan back? I don't think he is.
I don't think he's a massive miss.
He's a massive miss for them. He doesn't do a hell of a lot. I think he's an overrated player. When I say that, I think people make too much of what he does, or try to tell you he does stuff that he actually doesn't. But he's very good at winning the ball. He's very good at giving it to players that are better on the ball, and that's absolutely fine in that midfield. The core is very important. If he goes in with Sigurdsson, I'd be worried. But I don't know. Don't go with Tom Davies. He's fucking a terrible footballer. But I think if Everton, not even to win a midfield battle, but just be structured in a way that keeps United wide, I think they could do a job. 2-2 draw, 2-1 United. Matt, what you having?
Yeah, for me, this is a classic Premier League game. I'll go 3-2 with United, for United.
3-2 United. I'm going to go with... fuck it. I'm going to go 2-1 Everton. I think Everton will nudge it, and people are going mad now in the chat. What? You can't back them. I can do what I want. I'm 38 years of age. Now, before we move on to some quick predictions on our last three main games we're going to talk about, on the screen right now you can see hashtag Kian Strong. Our competition is live, 499 tickets and 12 brilliant prizes. The link is in the description. So I've been telling you about this guy for a long time. I had a link in the description for a long time for a GoFundMe. Okay, the GoFundMe is ticking along nicely. They're up around $78,000. They need $100,000 to get to their target. Kian, of course, is a young guy. Not a young guy. He's a baby. At 5 months old, diagnosed with brain cancer. He's currently the same age as my son. He's 14 months old, and he's in recovery. They're hoping things are on an upward curve for him, but he still needs a lot of help and attention and further treatment and recovery and everything else. So we got together. This is, and I'll always tell you, this is one of our viewers' brainchild. It's Kieran Thorne's brainchild. I won't take the credit for coming up with this idea, but Kieran came along and asked me, would I be able to do this? Do I think it's a good idea? And we ran from there. Footballprizes.co.uk, who's one of our sponsors, when I asked them, they immediately donated a prize and immediately said they would help us with the logistics of all this. So what they've done is on their site, they are going, you go to their site, the link is in the description, but if you type in footballprizes.co.uk on your browser, go into competitions and scroll down, you will see the charity Liverpool draw. It's going on for the next 4 weeks from today. There's 499 tickets, as I said, £4.95 per ticket. Every time you buy a ticket, every single penny of it will go to Kian. There's no charge anywhere. There's no Football Prize are doing it for absolutely free. So every time you do that, you will be donating, and it should end up somewhere close to $3,000. As I said, 499 tickets, but there's a catch. When you buy a ticket, we don't give the 12 prizes to one person. We do 12 separate draws, and every time we reset the clock, I suppose, your ticket goes back in. So you have 12 chances to win for that. Plus it's a donation. It's not like someone else is taking the money. So look in the description. When you click that link, you will see all the prizes that are there. There's signed VVD jerseys, there's signed Alisson jerseys, there's a signed Mane montage, there's art prints from loads of different lads that follow Liverpool and have done some amazing stuff. But we will have tweets out tomorrow detailing all the prizes, who donated them, what they are, so you can see them, and of course how you can get into this. If we get 500 tickets, that means more to me than any fucking amount of subscribers, any amount of views, any amount of likes, shares. It means listen, we're doing a show now, and I'm going to be honest with you, it means fuck all to me compared to this, what we're trying to do, right? And that's not being bad on any of the guests that are on, or any of our contributors, or any work any of them does, but this is way more important than YouTube channels, scores, results, predictions, anything, how you feel after a game. This to me is the biggest thing, in my opinion, that we've ever done, right? For a guy that's 13 months old. So please go and please have a look at the description. As I said, every time you can buy multiple tickets. You can buy, if you want to buy the 499 of them, you walk away. But every time you buy a ticket, it is a donation, and every time a prize goes, the next draw starts, your ticket is back in. Okay, it takes about 2 or 3 minutes to do it. You literally put in your name, your email address, you answer a question so they know you're not a robot, and then you're in. Okay, so we're going to be hitting social media with this tomorrow in a big way to try not only to try get people to spread it as far as they can, but to recognise the people, the other podcasts that have donated stuff to us for this. Okay, and the second thing is we have a new newsletter coming out. The description, in the description, you will see a link to that. It's very easy. You go, you click the link, you just subscribe via your email address, and every week we'll be giving you a newsletter with all our shows on it, different bits and pieces. There might be articles in there. There'll be links to our sponsors, the promotions that they have. So it's very simple. You click the link in the description for our new newsletter, and you put in your email address, and every week you will get a notification on our shows and everything going on with the LFC Daytrippers. Sorry for going on for so long, but I think it was important to do so. Now, let's move on. So, we've covered United, we've covered Spurs, we've covered Burnley and Brighton, Villa and Arsenal. Another quick one for you. Fulham v West Ham. Chris?
2-2.
Oh, I like it. Oscar, Fulham v West Ham.
2-0 West Ham.
Oh, can we have Antonio on the double, please, for my fancy football league? Yeah, cool.
He's injured, isn't he?
No, is he?
Yeah.
And do you know what the thing with Antonio is, right? I've told Grizz for ages, that fella is shit. And every time I say it, he just scores a brace, right? And then I said, I'll stick him in my fancy football. And they won away then at Villa, didn't they? And I was like, why is Jesse Lingard scoring? Why isn't this fella scoring all the goals when I said he was crap? But he's in my fancy football. So 2-0 to West Ham. Matt, what you doing on this one?
I was going to go 2-0 West Ham, but Oscar sold that one, so I'll get Fulham to peg one back. I'll say 2-1.
2-1. Okay, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Free World has 3-1 to West Ham. Kev O'Sullivan has 3-1 to West Ham. Roland O'Donnell has 3-2 to where everyone's back on West Ham here. Oh, Nageb goes the other way again. Fulham 2, West Ham 1. Nice one. 1-0 Fulham, says Dan J. And it's a 2-2 Grizz special on this one, says Avo the Third. Of course, Grizz predicts every football game in the world to finish 2-2. Good. I like that. I like that a lot. And the last quick one before we go on to our other main games. Sheffield United v Chelsea. Chris.
Tommy Tuchel masterclass, 3-0.
3-0. Okay. Oscar.
2-0 Chelsea.
2-0 Chelsea. Matt.
I'm not salty, but 1-1.
1-1. I'm going to go 1-1 as well. I'm going to go 1-1 as well, because as much as I can't back Fat Sam, I can most definitely not back that other Regis. So I'm not backing him. Free World has a Desmond 2-2. I like it. Ronan O'Donnell has 3-0 to Chelsea. Let me see.
Nilo.
Nilo's in. He says I'll be watching that match 3-0. Nilo, watch Liverpool, will you? You're meant to be doing podcasts with us and watching Liverpool, but you just seem to wander off and watch random games. Macca has 2-0 to Chelsea, and Nageb has gone 2-1 to Sheffield United. I'll tell you something. If Nageb put a bet on, right, with all these results, he wouldn't have to work ever again. He'd be like he'd buy his own island with the predictions that he puts in. But fair play to him. He's sticking to his guns. Game number 4, Wolves v Leicester. Chris, I'm going to come to you first. Wolves have fell off a cliff a little bit, and then Arsenal showed up. And Leicester just seemed to lose a game or win a game. There's no in between. What way do you see this going? Because I think both of them need a win for different reasons.
This feels like the sort of game that Leicester drop points in.
Yeah?
They'll be doing what we've been doing, which is winning the big games, and they've done really well in quite a lot of big games, and then just shitting the bed against sides they should be beating. You know, it's a bit like us. Sorry to repeat myself, but I think they're getting players back. But again, Rodgers did his thing that he always does. He starts with 4 at the back, then he flicks to 3, then he goes back to 4. You're like, I think after a while, it confuses players. I think Vardy's still touch and go.
Yeah,
I do just think the backups they have for Vardy, they aren't good enough to me. Perez is a decent midfielder. He's not a striker. Iheanacho, never done it for me.
He's never fulfilled his potential, has he? Iheanacho.
No. Don't see the hype. I mean, to be honest, the money City got for him, honest to God, they must have been laughing their way out the door when he left for that, because he's just not kicked on at all. Wolves, I mean, they finally bought a striker. They've got Jose now, haven't they, as an attacker, who actually looked quite good in the last game. Defensively, Wolves are always pretty solid. They've got some class in midfield with Neves and Matinho. And their big man is Neto. If Neto's on form, Wolves really tick. He's really took on the mantle of being like the main man. He's probably the only one who has stood up since Jimenez has sadly been injured. I mean, I don't think you'll see him again this year, sadly. But I fancy Wolves to nick this 2-1.
Okay. Olivier Pescasolido says, don't forget the Super Bowl prediction, Gav. Who's playing in it? And I'll give you a prediction. That's on Sunday. Yeah,
2-2.
3-2. But let us know, Olivier, who's playing in it. It's not the Giants anyway, because for anyone that doesn't know, I tried to get into American football last year, and Ray Dicko of this parish said, the Giants, and they're fucking awful. And I know he stitched me up by telling me the Giants, and I don't forgive him for it. So I don't think it's the Giants in it. No. But if you tell me who's in it, I'll try to give it. I might watch it Sunday night, because I'm up late every night walking.
Yeah.
So
you should have done what I do in American football. Just pick the Patriots, because everyone hates them.
So yeah, I know, but it gets a bit.
It pisses everyone off. So.
Yeah, it does. It does piss people off.
Football as well, didn't you, Chris?
What's that? Sorry. What's that?
Didn't say anything. With the football as well.
Yeah, you picked Liverpool. Tim Smith. Tim Smith says, hi Oscar, I hope you're good. That's obviously a listener or a viewer from All Leeds TV. You're very, very welcome, Tim. I'm still trying to find out who Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Chiefs. What's the Chiefs' first name?
Kansas City.
Kansas City Chiefs against... There we go. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Have any of them ever won it?
Didn't Kansas win it last year?
The Kansas won it last year.
Yeah, they won it last year. I think the Buccaneers just got Brady, whatever his first name is. It's not Robbie Brady.
Oh, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, that's it.
Oh, let's go with
that. I'll take. Yeah, Tom Brady. No, I don't want him winning another one. Kansas City Chiefs for me, brother. I'll take that. Somebody said there's 50 tickets already gone for the Kian Foundation. So that's deadly. 50 tickets, only live about 2 hours. So that's deadly. Barry Devaney says just go with Tom Brady's team. Gav. No, I'm going to go against them. So, yeah, so that's how it goes. What were we talking about? Wolves against Leicester.
Important
So I
stuff.
feel a bit like Billy Connolly there, just fucking going out on a tangent. Can't even remember what I've done. Oscar. Wolves seem to me like a team that have been figured out. And what I mean by that is they played 3 at the back, they 2 wing backs, and then they tried to play Adama Traore as a wing back, and it just teams have seemed to cop them on. Like, I can't understand for the life of me how they can't find themselves a back 4, all right, that can function. They've loads of midfielders there they can stick in there and just get Traore and Neto either side of a striker and have a go that way.
Yeah, I mean, you look at midfield, they're all very similar to me. You know, Moutinho, Neves, I just don't think that works for the two. I think the two similar, both lovely players to watch, but I think, are they really going to protect the back 4 as a 2? You know, if they play a 4-2-3-1, and they've kind of switched between a 3 at the back and a 4 at the back. And I just think, I agree, to be honest, Gav, I think there's confusion there at Wolves. I think obviously, the fact is, obviously, Jimenez isn't there. Jimenez isn't probably not going to be available this season. Obviously, Doherty's left. I've never been a massive fan of Semedo, to be honest. I think that the 4-0 game at Anfield probably summed up Nelson Semedo for me. He just got turned inside and out throughout that game. Stratford also lost. Obviously, Jota, they've lost so much goals and creativity from that team, and the players who really made that system work. You know, when they went 3-4-3, they had Jota on one wing, Jimenez through the middle, and then Traore or Neto on the other wing. Doherty at right wing back, and it just works so well. But they've lost all those players. They've not spent well, as I've already said. Semedo 30 million, Fabio Silva 30 million. You know, that's 60 million there, and you're thinking neither player's really improved the team. I just think there's a lot of confusion there at Wolves, and I don't really see. I don't think they've ever been fantastic to watch, but what I do have to say about Wolves is you can always see what they were trying to do. You know, in terms of the system, the style, in terms of how they were trying to play was very clear. But now you look at it and think there's no real philosophy there. It's not really obvious what Nuno's trying to do with that team anymore. He's just trying to go from game to game and just try and juggle and find a system that works for him. And you could say it worked against Arsenal, but let's be honest, in that Arsenal game, Arsenal were just cutting through them. So many times. You know, I think really, if Arsenal had a bit more luck and they didn't go down to 10 men, you know, just for half time, for me, they'd probably win that game 3 or 4-0. I honestly thought they were that comfortable in it, Arsenal, that Wolves were struggling to stay in it. But for me, Leicester are a strange team because they played us last weekend and we got a fantastic win. But I'll be honest, I was not confident at all going into that game. But then Leicester, you kind of saw them and thought, you know what, they could be got at on the counter, you know, in terms of how high they push the fullbacks up. You know, you see Justin, fantastic going forwards, but he does push very high. He does often tend to push beyond the midfielders. I think obviously Ndidi, if he doesn't play, I'm not sure if Ndidi's available for this game. He wasn't available against us. That left a big hole in their midfield because they haven't got anyone else really who can perform that Ndidi role to an extent in front of the back 4. I think obviously the Vardy one's massive. You know, you've touched on it yourself. You know, Perez and Iheanacho, they're just not good enough. You know, it's a simple fact. They don't offer the running in behind. They don't stretch the pitch like Vardy does. And to be honest, you know, you look at it and think, for Leicester, I personally think Leicester have really got that potential to be a top 16 now. You know, got a new training ground. Brendan Rodgers is doing really well. Can they keep hold of Brendan Rodgers? Who knows? I do think the potential's there for Leicester, but I think what will fall down for Leicester, and ultimately I thought the same for Wolves, but the problem for Wolves is they've not replaced Jimenez. They've not really got the funds really to properly get that Jimenez type of influence into the team. And I think the same will happen to Leicester. And it's going to have to take really good recruitment for them. But in this game specifically, I think Leicester have got enough to win it. But at the same time, if Neto's on it, Traore's on it, they can be got at on the counter for me. Definitely Leicester. And the first goal in that one will be massive. I think both teams, Leicester, I think the stat was they've scored first 11 times in games and they've won 10 games. Wolves, I think, is a similar stat. So the first goal will be massive in this one because if Wolves take the lead, they can get at Leicester on the counter and get a second, and the same thing for Leicester. So the first goal will be absolutely massive in that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this one kind of suits Leicester. Leicester will be quite happy for Wolves to play some pretty stuff and then look to absolutely hurt them. Olivier says Karen Brady's brother is the quarterback for Tampa Bay. Gav, I'm not falling for that one. And somebody else says that Tom Brady will be on a coin if he wins. Fuck off, right? This is all Olivier's fault. But Red Steve did give me the warning. He said it's a trap, Gav. Ronan O'Donnell says the Manchester United owners own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is that true? That can't be true.
They listed money though. I doubt it. They bought a good player.
Nah.
They don't do that.
No. Do the Glazers own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? No, they can't. They can't just wind me up. But if it's true, I'm still going for the Kansas City lads. I'm still going for them. They're my team. Come on, the Chiefs. Yeah. So listen, I know we're being a bit pushed for time. So let's get some predictions on this one. Wolves v Leicester. Matt, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, I can see Wolves nicking something in this one, so I got 2-1 Wolves.
2-1 Wolves. Okay, Chris.
2-1 Wolves.
2-1 Wolves. Now, Oscar, because you think you can go either way, but I'm going to have to get a result off you.
2-1 Leicester.
Okay, I'm going 3-1 Leicester. I think this game suits them down to the ground. So I'm going to go with that. Oh, Joe Glazer owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There you go. So it's definitely the Kansas City lads we're going for this weekend, lads. 100%. Right. That is Wolves and Leicester the way. On to Leeds v Palace. Leeds, we all say on this show, are great to watch. They're the entertainment you get every week with them is the brilliant one. So I'm gonna go to you, Chris, first. Leeds should be winning this game. I think it's one of those games that Leeds, when you look at their form throughout the season, they seem to big scalp. I think Leicester. I think that was a big scalp for them, and then the Everton thing, a similar place side. They're up and down against, and that's fine. But they have to be looking to win these, Chris.
They do, but I've got a sneaky feeling with Eze and Zaha against the Leeds defence. I think they're going to...
Zaha's out.
Is Zaha out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swings it a bit then. But Eze, it's still... I think he's just starting to kick into gear now. And I think he's going to have a bit of joy against the Leeds defenders, because I do think that's Leeds' Achilles heel, and probably, for the summer, that's going to be Leeds' big plan. He's probably trying to improve the back line, because I think that's where probably the biggest weakness is, because the midfield is strong, it's got lots of flair in it, and the attack is very good, so that's not a problem. I just don't trust the Leeds defenders one-on-one. I think that's where they get exposed. I don't think they've got enough good one-on-one defenders, because that's the style they play. I mean, look, we found that out this year, how good our defenders are one-on-one compared to what we normally have. But that's the way Leeds play. I don't think they've got to change how they play. So I think it'll be tighter than we think, but with Zaha being out, Leeds should be winning this still.
Go on, give us a score.
2-1 Leeds.
Okay, Matt. People are saying there, Palace, I think Kevin Sullivan said Palace have the players to pick Leeds off if they're organised properly. I fancy Leeds in this. Are you the same?
Look, with Leeds again, it's one that can go either way, but I feel like Leeds, just with the kind of intensity that they play with, I don't think Palace will be able to match that. I think the biggest chance Palace could have, agreeing with Chris, is Eberechi Eze. If they put him on the right hand side, target Alioski with him. I think Alioski is a good player, but defensively, I think Oscar would agree he's not the best that there is out there. So I think Eze and him could really be a way that they win that game. In the midfield, I think Leeds will dominate it. I've been really critical of Leeds midfield, kind of in the earlier stages of the season. There's been huge holes in that midfield. I think West Ham exploited really well at Ellen Road when they were there, but I think Bielsa's kind of got that under control, and I know Click has been out of form lately, but he's a really good footballer. Of course, Calvin Phillips there as well. I think Paddy Bamford could nick a goal or two. He used to play with Palace or something? Was he at Palace?
Yeah,
he was. Didn't go well from at all. It was a shocking spell for him. I think he played like 2 games. I think he started one and they came off at half time and booed. Just got booed when he came off at half time. But yeah, Palace fans are very, very bitter towards Paddy Bamford. He has that effect, Every single club he's played for on loan, they just cannot stand him, to be fair. But
there's a lot of them. There's a lot he's been on loan with. But
I love it. I love that he's disliked by other clubs, to be fair. I absolutely love that about him. I think he likes it, to be fair.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like he could go here with a point to prove.
Yeah, Nilo of this parish says 3-3 with an Eddie Gray brace. So that one for the kids there. But like, I'm looking at this game and I'm thinking to myself, look, I get the points about Leeds being open in midfield and Palace having players to pick them off. But I think Leeds' style might suit them against Palace, where they try get at them, press them back. Now, there is a risk, on the other hand, of being counter-attacked. But whenever I watch even Liverpool play against Palace, if you make it an open game, Palace have a chance. If you try to suffocate Palace, I don't think they can hold out. Liverpool done it. Liverpool beat them 7-0 earlier a couple of weeks ago, and they just never gave them a second, and it didn't work for Palace whatsoever. So let's get some predictions. Sorry, that's been coming for about 5 minutes. Chris, go on, give us a prediction.
2-1 Leeds.
2-1 Leeds. Oscar, what are you doing on this? Do you fancy Leeds? Do you fancy just to edge it, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I think the only thing I have to agree. I think Eze is definitely the danger man against us. I think obviously we defend man to man. Eze is that man who can kind of beat the press in that. Like, he's got that bit of low centre of gravity, bit of a pain to deal with. He was very good at Selhurst Park against us, but I still think we've got enough. I think with Zaha missing, I just think we can suffocate them, as you say. I just don't think they've got any outlets to get up the pitch. I'm hoping so anyway. So I'm going to go 3-1. 3-1 in this.
Okay, 3-1 to Leeds. Chris, did you give me a prediction, Chris?
2-1.
2-1, you did. Matt, what's your prediction?
I'll go 2-0 Leeds.
2 Leeds. I'm going to go with a 3-2 Leeds. I think they just about edge it. Nilo has left the building. He said goodbye to everybody. He's there. He is. He says, it's been beautiful, chaps. Keep on keeping on. Love you all. Nilo is an absolute headbanger. But he's great crack. He's the absolute business. Right, the last one. Let's get down to this. Liverpool v City. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Liverpool have been awful for the last while. They picked it up against Spurs and against West Ham. They were one of the worst displays I've seen from Liverpool in a long time at home to Brighton the other night. There was no energy. There was rumour going around that there was a bug in the camp, and Alisson was forced out through illness, and that may have been affecting the other night. This is probably the worst game you can have when you're in a bad run of form or players out and stuff like that. And you know what? I think it's one of those where it could be the worst, but it could be the best, if you know what I mean. It can kind of rally you. But Oscar, I'll come to you first. Liverpool versus City. I'm going to put it out there. I think if City win this, I think Liverpool's can't win the league. I think if Liverpool win it, they're still in with a chance. And I think a draw does nobody really any benefit, does it?
No, and I think what you've seen with a lot of these games is they've tended to play out as 0-0 draws or 1-1s this season. When we've really built them up in that lot. I think obviously the last game, City and Liverpool, it started off absolutely fantastic, that game. First 20 minutes or so, both teams score in the first 20 minutes. But I think in the end, both teams kind of at that time of the season settled for the draw. And I think they were probably right to be honest, in that sense. But I can't actually see that being the case this time. I think Liverpool have got to win this game. And I think, you've said before about the issue of breaking down low blocks, but in a way, I actually think this game might suit Liverpool. I think the only thing that goes against Liverpool is no fans. Well, massively goes against Liverpool is no fans in the ground. To really roar on and really make it a bit tougher for City to try and play through your press in that lot. But I think the big thing is when you play these teams like Brighton, maybe less so Brighton, Burnley, and these teams you drop points against, when they're playing these long balls, it takes your press out of the game. But against City, they're going to still try and play football. And you look at people like Rodri, if Kyle Walker plays, I think potentially Liverpool, if they get the press right, they pick the right midfield. For me, I want to see one of Fabinho or Henderson go into midfield. I don't want to see them both playing centre-back from a point of view. I want to see one of them in midfield to really bolster it and try and win that midfield battle and have a bit of control, because we know what City are going to do. We know City will probably have 60% of the ball. They'll look to dictate things. They'll look to get the ball into Gundogan, let him kind of dictate play. I think he's been absolutely superb this season, to be honest. Gundogan, I think to be honest, he's been the player that's turned around City's season. I think City, for me, up until Gundogan hitting form, were just nothing really. And it's weird how the season's changed, but I think it does suit Liverpool in a way, this game. I think it's going to be open. And I just think it's that front three, the front threes against each other. And I've got to say, City's front three, despite they've been fantastic, over the season, but they've still not got a guaranteed source of goals for me, City. That's the only thing I think that might work in Liverpool's favour. And if Alisson's back, Alisson, he can just stand up when needed. Mane, for me, I'd still think he's the best player in the league for me. In terms of for watching, I do think, for me, I really do love Mane in terms of how he plays, and he's crucial to that press. And I think that Brighton game, if Mane was on the pitch instead of Shaqiri, I think it would have played out a little bit differently. I just thought it was difficult for Liverpool to stretch the pitch when it's Firmino and Shaqiri both in that front three. There was not really enough. It was just too nice almost. It was too sideways passing. There was no real kind of penetration from Liverpool. But I think it really does suit Liverpool this game. And City have a terrible, terrible record at Anfield as well. And Pep does as well. But I honestly do have a funny feeling Liverpool won't lose this game. I honestly do think this game suits Liverpool. Klopp seems fired up. And I think Klopp, to be fair, has probably had the better of the rivalry, 1v1 against Pep since they've been in England.
Yeah, it's interesting because, people are saying there, City will take a draw all day. What I meant by City doesn't benefit either is City probably would take a draw all day because they go, listen, we keep Liverpool 7 points off as we have a game in hand and there'll be 15 games left and they're comfortable with that. What I mean by it is, I think City are approaching this game. City are approaching the weekend. It's very similar to the way United were coming to Anfield. Liverpool were in poor form off the back of some bad games. Missing players, trying to put centre midfielders at centre back, and United didn't back themselves. City be under some sort of pressure to back themselves, and they probably will because they do. Somebody said there, I hope Guardiola overthinks it. He does when he comes to Anfield. He overthinks it in relation to the formation he plays, the personnel. Raheem Sterling, he must be up for a week worrying, will Raheem Sterling play at Anfield? So I think it is a game that it's hard to call despite the form of both sides. Chris, when you look at this, the key to me might be not only are you getting someone into midfield, but I think it could absolutely hinge on whoever goes into centre half beside Fabinho, who I think will play. They have a good game because City will absolutely target whether it's this Ben Davies or it's Kabak. I think they're going to be targeted regardless.
I think you're right. Unfortunately, a lot of the talk is it's going to be Henderson and Fabinho at centre back, which is part of my language. But why the fuck would you buy two centre backs then? If you're not going to trust them, I know they've only had a couple of days training.
But it's not a big surprise, Chris, because we've seen players come to this club. The biggest one being Andy Robertson for me, and he wasn't seen for months when he signed. Now I know it's an emergency situation, but it's not a surprise.
But if that's the case, then buy him in early January, give them January to settle in, so they're ready for this game. I don't like being negative at Liverpool, but I'm quite deflated because it's all been last minute. It's all been you've been seeing these problems for a while, and they've come back to roost now. And now they're all going, oh well, he might take a while to settle. We should have bought him fucking earlier. And not be funny, you had the opportunities to do this. We've had plenty of opportunities to do this, and to me, he's got to try one of the other lads, whether it's Kabak or Phillips in this game. The fact that Kabak or Davis in this game, Phillips has done well, and he has done well. But he's got absolutely zero pace. It's like watching a tugboat turn. And I just think against a Sterling, a Jesus, a Mahrez, they would have a field day with him. They really would, and he would get exposed. Whereas I think with a Fabinho, although he's not got pace, he's got cleverness about him, and he's done well at centre half. And ultimately, in my head, it should be Kabak starting because we've been linked with him on and off for a year, 18 months. It's a name that's been bandied around for a while, so we obviously were interested in him. To me, Davis is what he's going to be, which is, I think it's Fabinho and Kabak as your main two, and Davis is your backup if Kabak struggles to settle, or you just want a bit of horses for courses. You want someone who's a bit of a better passer, then I think you throw him in. But for me, you've got to start with Fabinho and Kabak at the centre. Get yourself Henderson back in midfield because Milner can't play again. I mean, the fact he played 4 games in 11 days was the most stupid decision I've seen Klopp make. I don't like to badmouth the manager, but it was obvious he was going to be knackered. He took him off against West Ham with a tight hamstring. So, and Jones came on and did really well. If you can't trust Jones against Brighton at home, when are you going to trust Jones again? Give him a run out. So, I mean, look, I'll be better close to the game, but I'm just a bit deflated, really, because I kind of thought the corner was turned after the last 2 games, and it was a bit of a, we still playing out.
Yeah, but I think like, and loads of people say it. If Liverpool hadn't got half these injuries that they have, I think they'd be clear in the Premier League. I'm being honest. If you give me back Van Dijk and Gomez, I think Liverpool are well clear in this league. That's my honest opinion, right?
I think if you have one of them back, you'd be fine.
Yeah, no, I think, but if you just took those two injuries, I think, and you said, look, that back four and that goalkeeper will be there, and we make do up further up the pitch wherever we need to, I think we'd be clear in this league. I genuinely believe that. Zed Malik says, Alisson, Trent, Kabak, Fabinho, Robbo, Hendo, Thiago, Gini, Mane, Bobby, Salah, that this team beats anybody. Matt, I'm going to come to you on this. You know, City have been in great form. They were being written off earlier on in the season by a few because they were stuttering a bit. They've hit a good run of form. They've had some very kind fixtures, I will say that. And it was noticed from a good while off just before Christmas. What way do you see this going? Because it's still Liverpool versus City. Now, there is personnel missing heavily on the Liverpool side, but it's still Liverpool against City. It's still City going to Anfield. Do they see this as a double chance of A, putting Liverpool out of a title race, and B, ending that hoodoo at Anfield?
Absolutely. I really do think if City come there with the mindset of that, you know, the importance of this game and a win is absolutely crucial for them. If they come out and bring this game to Liverpool, I'm sorry, but I just can't see Liverpool dealing with that because of the weaknesses in that team. And I think Ozan Kabak starting could be a bad thing for Liverpool because, you know, I'm sure there's some sort of language barrier there. He doesn't know the players. And centre back, you know, you have to know a lot about the people around you and the system you're playing before you can really start to bed yourself in there. And I think getting Henderson back into the middle of the park is also really crucial. So I think if you can get him back in there, like I'm one of those fans who's never really seen opposition fans who's never really seen the benefit of Jordan Henderson, and I only really noticed it when he was out of that midfield. If that makes sense. Like that game against Southampton, I thought he played well in centre half, but you really missed him in the middle of the park, and I think that did kind of sway the game in Southampton's favour there. So getting him in there could be crucial, but Man City have just been absolutely outstanding for me. You know, they're not at full strength in terms of personnel as well. You know, Aguero hasn't scored in the Premier League for over a year, but they've managed to replace that. And they're not that team who will go out and try and win 5-6-0 in all the games they play now. They're a lot more pragmatic, but they're just so clever in what they do. And 13 wins in the bounce now, on the bounce now. I think they really have hit their stride in Guardiola. When it looked as though maybe he had kind of come to an end there was talk of him moving on. But as soon as he signed that new contract, I think everybody realised they had to get down to work and credit him. They've absolutely done that. Gundogan, as Oscar said, has been for me one of the most impressive midfielders in the Premier League this season. The partnership of Stones and Diaz, don't think is one anyone really saw coming, but it has been probably the best in the league for me this season. And everything is just clicking for Man City. And I just find it hard to see them getting anything less than 3 points in this one because of the weaknesses Liverpool have. But in a normal season, I think Liverpool is of course the best challenge that could go to City. And I think they would beat them, but just with the players missing, I just can't see it.
Yeah, I think that's fair because, you know, like if City were in the situation Liverpool were in, you'd be saying, City be right up there. They'd probably be clearing the league. I genuinely do. I think, you know, and people would say, well, everyone gets injuries. They do. But I think the severity of Liverpool's injuries in the areas they've got them and the time that they've got them, I think has been just outrageous. You know, we've had lads with COVID that have struggled since they come back. There's loads of stuff that's gone on. But you have to, and people always say to me, you're making excuses. I'm not. I'm just stating the facts. And I'm not one to sit here and feel sorry for Liverpool. That's how it goes. I'm of the opinion that whatever comes this season, that's what comes. You just take your medicine and you move on and you look to next season and go, listen, we salvaged whatever, but now we've everyone back. Now let's see what we're made of. Let's have some predictions. Oscar.
1-1. I'm gonna just to say as well, I think Kabak is a top signing. I think he will turn out to be a good signing in the Champions League, in the league. I think he will be a good signing for you.
Okay, good stuff. 1-1. Chris.
2-1 Liverpool.
Okay. And Matt, give us your result because you will be barred from this channel from here on in. So go.
I just want to get you on my side beforehand. I think Quebec, a lot of people are taking too much notice of the fact that Schalke have only won one game this season, conceded 49. You're only as good as the players around you. I think Quebec will improve this Liverpool side. But 3-1 City. I was going to say it. 3-1 City.
3-1 City. I'm going the opposite way. I'm going 3-1 Liverpool. I think, don't get me wrong, I think Kev O'Sullivan said earlier, it's a game Liverpool could go out and win 4-0 or lose 5-0 because there's so many. This game is, do you know the way they say games are about fine margins? I think it's magnified in this one because if Liverpool can, despite plugging gaps in their side and playing players that are probably being overplayed because of the situation they're in, if Liverpool can just put in that performance that we know it's in them, I think City will struggle. But if the slightest thing goes wrong for Liverpool or they get hit on the break and caught, I think it's well open for City. But I'm never backing against Liverpool. Not a fucking chance. Go on, Oscar.
Sorry.
Oh,
If you've
Chris.
If you got your positive head on, this has got the feel of the City Liverpool game of 2 years ago, where we went to the Etihad with a 7-point lead, wanting it to make it 10, and City won a very tight game, and that kicked them on.
Yeah.
Roles reversed. They're coming towards with the same situation. A little bit less game time. If you've got you got to put a positive spin on it. Win there. Is that your moment that turned your season? I'm not sure if it is or it isn't. But if you want to have a positive spin on it, that's the positive spin I can find for you.
Yeah, I'm like, don't get me wrong. City could go 10 clear with a game in hand, I think. But Liverpool could make it 4 with a game in hand and stuff like that. But I'm not backing against Liverpool. They can turn around whenever they feel like it at any given moment. So I'm going to go for 3-1 Liverpool. And look, I don't care what you say, right? 3 scorers, anytime scorers for the weekend. Chris.
Werner, Ings, Salah.
Werner, Ings, Salah. Okay. Matt.
I've wrote mine down, actually. I'm not going to lose it like Joe did last week. I have Stuart Armstrong, Paddy Bamford, and Semi G.
Okay.
Don't ask questions.
I'm not. Oscar.
Son, Fernandez, Tammy Abraham.
Okay. I'm going to have Ollie Watkins. I'm going to have Son of Spurs. And I'm going to take THIAGO against Man City, please. Right, you've all been asked to choose a game that does not involve your side to give me a correct score and the first goal scorer. I am going to write these down. So, Chris.
Man United, Everton, 2-2. Calvert-Lewin first goal.
Calvert-Lewin. Okay. Matt.
I'm going to go Sheffield United, Chelsea, 1-1, and David McGoldrick.
Oh.
Back in the Irish.
Yeah.
Obviously wasn't Brewster.
Never
Okay. And Oscar, what's your team?
Fulham 0, West Ham 2, Souček.
It's a great show.
That's a very good shout.
Our lads love Souček.
What's yours, Gav?
I'm gonna Souček. I'm going to take Wolves 1, Leicester 3, and I'm going to have Harvey Barnes as the first goal scorer.
Harvey Barnes is to me what Antonio is to you. As soon as I started giving out how bad he was, he just went on a free scoring.
Well, I'm going to go on, Harvey, you can do it. That's the way I think about it. Lads, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. I've kept you probably a little bit too long, but you'll forgive me for that. Oscar, All Leeds TV, find them everywhere, isn't that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're just here, there, and everywhere. Myself and Joe doing a bit of everything, watch-alongs, match previews, doing a bit more with the fans as well after games and that lot. A bit of everything, to be honest, mate. I'm just loving it, to be fair. I think it's just keeping us going through lockdown, trying to get more content out, and I think it's just a great way of getting through lockdown, to be honest. Yeah,
it is, and not only producing content, but being able to watch more and extra content from everyone, whether you're a Liverpool fan, Spurs, Leeds, anybody. It is helping people through lockdown. That's absolutely true. Matt, Tottenham Blog, go hit us. Where can we find you?
Yeah, Matt Hayes Tottenham Blog on YouTube, Matt Hayes THFC, as it's written on Twitter down there. And if ever you want to see 3 Spurs fans crying watching football, it's the place to be. Okay,
Spurs fans crying watching football. There's your watch along weekend sorted. Chris, anything you would like to bring up before we go?
I'm guesting again on. I'm on the Last Minute Winner podcast tomorrow. I think we're going live at 8.
Okay, good stuff.
So
go and watch that.
Do the preview of the City game.
Good stuff. Go and watch that. With regards to us, we had a great preview of the City game last night with Keith, Shawnee and Steve, the Manchester City fan, who was excellent, by the way. We have had shows during the week. You can go back and watch them. We take tomorrow off, as we always do. We will be back on Sunday with the Fatback 4. Myself, Grace, Shawnee and Keith, I think. None of them have said they won't be in, so hopefully that is the case come Sunday. Of course, that will be a reaction at 10 p.m. to Liverpool versus Man City and much more, because that show was just mad. Nothing to do with me, it's the other 3. I just facilitate the madness.
You egg Bob.
Yeah, I just have a go
you
with
do.
Grizz. Just it's always good to have a go with Grizz before you start your week, in my opinion. Listen, don't forget, if you go into the description, there's a couple of things in there. There is the link to the competition for Kian, £4.95, 499 tickets. There's a month to go before we make that live draw with footballprizes.co.uk. We are launching a new newsletter tomorrow as well. That will be out once a week, every week, with links to our shows, links to different things we're doing with sponsors and whatever it might be, and anything interesting we come across, we're going to lash it on there. So if you go into the link in the description for that, put in your email address, you become a subscriber, and every time we hit that button to send it out, you will get it automatically. It's been an absolute pleasure, lads. I've enjoyed it immensely. Enjoy your weekends football. Enjoy your weekends with friends. Well, not friends because you can't see them, but enjoy them with your family that you haven't stopped fucking looking at for about 6 months now. Enjoy it. Enjoy your football, and look, we'll see you on Sunday. Over and out.